Hello viewers, in this video we are going to see pathophysiology, the physiological reasoning behind clinical presentation and management of Bell's palsy. First of all, let's know the major types of facial paralysis. First one is central, that is also called supranuclear or upper motor neuron facial palsy. Second one is peripheral, which is also called subnuclear or lower motor neuron facial palsy. Bell's palsy is a peripheral facial palsy which is known to be the most common form of facial paralysis. Now, let's see about the pathophysiology of Bell's palsy. That is, exactly how does this pathological condition develop? Basically, the lower motor neuron of facial nerve is damaged by inflammation of the facial nerve, raising the pressure within fallopian canal, leading to ischemia of the nerve. Such an inflammation can be commonly caused by reactivation of varicella zoster virus or type 1 herpes simplex virus. Sometimes inflammation can occur in influenza infection, middle ear infection, skull fracture, or ear surgery causing damage to the facial nerve. Now we will move on to clinical presentation of Bell's palsy. To understand the characteristic clinical presentation, we should be clear with few basic things like what is upper motor neuron and lower motor neuron of facial nerve. Firstly, the nerve fibers which arise in the concerned motor cortex and relay in the facial nerve nucleus in the brainstem are called the upper motor neurons, that is corticobulbar tract. Then from this nucleus another order of neurons start, which travel all the way through the facial nerve to the muscles of facial expression. These neurons form the lower motor neurons of the facial nerve. Another important basic understanding is about cortical representation of upper and lower face, that is, the control of upper and lower face. In this illustration, we will consider right half of the face for this. Consider upper face first. Facial muscles of upper face are under control of both right as well as left cerebral hemispheres. But the lower facial muscles are controlled by the opposite, that is, the left hemisphere only. Now, let's see the clinical features of Bell's palsy. Consider that the right facial nerve is lesioned. Due to this lesion, there is complete loss of control over complete right half of the face. In such a condition, following clinical features can be found. Pain behind the ear may occur 1 to 2 days before the paralysis sets in. Loss of forehead wrinkles occurs due to paralyzed frontalis muscle. Paralysis of orbicularis oculi leads to inability to close the eye, causing dryness and redness in the eye, leading to excessive tearing. The corner of mouth droops with drooling, that is, uncontrolled flow of saliva from the corner of mouth due to affected orbicularis oris muscle. Facial droop, that is sagging face, is due to the paralyzed muscles on the affected side. Loss of taste sensation ipsilaterally from anterior two-thirds of the tongue is observed as chorda tympani, a branch of facial nerve, is affected. Lastly, hyperacusis, that is, increased sensitivity to sound due to loss of attenuation reflex can occur. In this, stapedius muscle supplied by facial nerve is paralyzed. One may get confused between upper motor neuron palsy and lower motor neuron palsy. That is, between upper motor neuron palsy and Bell's palsy of facial nerve. So, it is essential to learn the differentiating features of these two entities. As we have learned that in the Bell's palsy, complete half of the same side of the face is affected. You can see this in the illustration. This is the lesion causing complete loss of control of the right half of the face. Contrary to Bell's palsy, in upper motor neuron palsy, lower half of opposite side is affected. How? Let's see. Here, the corticobulbar tracts, that is upper motor neurons of facial nerve, can get lesion due to stroke, brain tumor or trauma, which causes loss of nerve supply to the lower face on the opposite side of the lesion, whereas the major upper facial muscles, frontalis and orbicularis oculi, will still have innervation from the ipsilateral hemisphere. Thus, in upper motor neuron palsy, it is said that the forehead muscles are spared from paralysis due to their bilateral control by both hemispheres. Such forehead sparing is not seen in Bell's palsy. Now, we'll see about the management of Bell's palsy. Corticosteroids are given to reduce the inflammation of the facial nerve. Antiviral drugs like acyclovir can be given to shorten the course of the disease. Lubricating eye drops are used to prevent corneal drying at night time. Most patients with Bell's palsy get recovered within 2 weeks to 6 months after the initial onset of symptoms. Their facial strength and expressions are regained fully. A small number of individuals may continue to have some symptoms for rest of their life. I hope you have enjoyed learning Bell's palsy. Thank you.